Hey guys! Today I was out driving around the Cape Canaveral area looking for historical markers for our Memorial May series when I got lost somewhere around the south gate of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and I stumbled upon this giant thing. I gotta be honest, I don't really care that much about Florida's aerospace history and this doesn't super interest me, but I decided not to drive past it without filming it anyway to share with the vlog in case anyone else finds this interesting. What we're looking at here is an aircraft called the NAVAHO. I've Googled some history on it to share with you, and I apologize if I've made any errors in this voiceover. I'm literally no rocket scientist, and I'm just quoting mostly from Wikipedia and some Googled news articles. The Germans had introduced a number of new wonder weapons during World War II that were of great interest to all the Allied forces. In German use, these weapons had relatively little strategic effect and had to be fired in the thousands to cause any real damage, but if armed with a nuclear weapon, even a single such weapon would cause damage equivalent to thousands of conventionally armed versions, and this line of research was quickly taken up by the U.S. Army Air Force in late 1944. The North American SM-64 NAVAHO was envisioned in 1946 to be a supersonic, intercontinental, pilotless cruise missile bomber capable of carrying a weapons payload for a distance of 5,500 miles. It was considered to be the most advanced aircraft in its day. In 1958, a launch tower at Cape Canaveral rolled back to reveal the exotic, far-out-looking NAVAHO, a new concept in nuclear weaponry, and a new wrinkle in the tense, desperate arms race with the Soviet Union. Jamie Draper with the Air Force Space and Mission Museum said, "To some people it's a stunning design, to others it's a bit of a Frankenstein. But to every space fan it is significant and looked at with a certain affection. It led the way to several successful programs later on and even bears a resemblance to modern-day space shuttles." The first version of the NAVAHO, only intended to be used for test flights, was called the NAVAHO X-10 and resembled a traditional aircraft. NAVAHO X-10 vehicles were remote-controlled and took off from a runway just like an airplane. The rocket could carry a cruise missile to 70,000 feet at 2,300 miles per hour, and then the missile's jet engines would take over to carry it to the target. After completing a test flight, the X-10 could return for a landing utilizing retractable landing gear. However, in a series of test launches, NAVAHO could never hit a target. Most NAVAHOs blew up before even getting close to their destination. The first launch attempt on November 6, 1956, failed after only 26 seconds of flight. 10 failed launch flights followed before a successful attempt on March 22, 1957, which lasted for 4 minutes and 39 seconds of flight. Another attempt in April exploded seconds after liftoff before a June flight lasting 4 minutes and 29 seconds. Although NAVAHO X-10 test flights began at Edwards Air Force Base in California, a total of 15 NAVAHO X-10 missiles were launched from Cape Canaveral between 1955 and 1957. Some of the NAVAHO X-10 vehicles were used for aerodynamic flight tests, while some acted as target drones during missile testing. A total of 7 NAVAHO XSM-64 missiles were launched from Cape Canaveral between 1956 and 1958. Some of these launches took place after the NAVAHO program was canceled in July 1957 due to repeated failures and advancements in ballistic missile technology. Although NAVAHO did not enter service, its development provided useful research in a number of fields. A version of its airframe became the AGM-28 Hound Dog, which was carried towards its target on the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress and then flew the rest of the way at about 1,500 miles per hour. The guidance system was used to guide the first Polaris submarines. Its booster engine design is a direct ancestor of the engines used to launch the moon rockets. One remaining X-10 is on display at the United States Air Force Museum and Development Gallery. A Navajo booster rocket is currently displayed in front of a VFW post in Fort McCoy, Florida. The other remaining Navajo missile is on display here at the South Gate entrance of Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. The cruise missile portion of this Navajo was donated to the museum by the Brevard County School Board in 1964. Records indicate that the missile was originally displayed in front of the Clear Lake Junior High School administrative offices in Cocoa, Florida, and was mounted horizontally without a booster or engines. The booster section of the Navajo was later donated by the Florida Power and Light Company in 1967 and was then erected as one complete Navajo XSM-64 in the Museum Rocket Garden. The Navajo remained on display in the Museum Rocket Garden until it was removed for restoration in September 1996. The restoration took place at Hangar C at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station by corrosion specialist Keith Davidson of Melbourne, Florida. With restoration complete, the Navajo was moved to the History Center in March of 1999. On October 7, 2016, high winds driven by Hurricane Matthew toppled the Navajo from its launcher, severely damaging it. The Navajo has been restored and was proudly put back on display in 2021 near the Sands Space History Center, just outside the south gate of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The museum is free and is open 6 days a week.